everyone, and Kyohei. This is my video response to one of your videos, and I felt that I needed to do it because I think it would be a good message for my viewers as well. Okay, so this is my video on representation and why it matters. You made a video not too long ago about how you are anti-Korean Japanese, and you got a lot of comments about that, including some of mine. And so I guess I'm here to sort of not only clarify but expand on what I said and what I believe about it. And as I was watching your video, all I could think was, what if I was Korean and watching this video? With all the negative things that the Korean media and some Koreans have said. And if I was a Korean who had heard this and then watched your video, I would have thought, oh my god, my country's right. All these horrible things that they say about Japan is completely right. They're bigots, they're nationalists, they're horrible, horrible people. And with that video, you would have proven to them all of those negative stereotypes. When really, that wasn't your message. Your message was, from my perspective, from the way I understand it, was, I love my country, I love my culture, I love my people, I don't want anything to change. And everyone, if you had just said that, everyone in the world would have been able to agree with you. Because you didn't isolate anyone, you wouldn't have isolated anyone, you wouldn't have put them on the spot. I understand where you're coming from. I do. Being an old age practitioner of magic, I understand the fear and the anger towards the people who are working to change your culture. But how you represent yourself does matter. Because with a few words, you could change the world for better or for worse. For instance, when I was in 8th grade, and for those of you who have seen my other videos and know something about my intermediate school life, you'll know that it was very difficult for me, that I was very bullied because I was the only pagan in a Christian community. One day, I was in 8th grade in English class, and we were just doing some stupid assignment. I don't even remember what it was. And I was sort of with a group of not Catholic, but Christian, significantly Christian students, and pretty much randomly, they started to ask me questions about my religion, but in a very rapid-fire sort of way. So it felt like they were attacking me, confronting me, interrogating me, and at that time I was so abused by these people that I didn't trust them. I didn't trust their intentions. I didn't know what their intentions were. And so I basically stood up and said, shut the fuck up. I don't have to deal with you. I don't have to put up with this. Just leave me alone. And this is probably the biggest regret of my entire life. One of them. I have many, but because I wish that the person that I am now could go back and respond to them in a tolerant and understanding and patient way. Because I realize now that they weren't attacking me, they were just curious and they wanted more information because they had never encountered another pagan. They never had any resources to study paganism. And so they weren't attacking me, they were just curious, and how I responded was wrong. It was wrong. Because what the Christians are taught is that pagans must be converted to save their souls because of all this bad stuff that they do, of how scared they are, and they need to be saved, essentially. And so by reacting in a very defensive, intolerant way, I was proving everything, every negative thing that the Christians who had taught them this had said. And I regret that. If I had responded in a tolerant, patient way, and listened to them, and said, slow down, let me just digest a little bit, and we'll work through this, I could have changed their life by changing how they perceived pagans. By being tolerant and respectful to their questions, I could have changed them and made them think, oh wait, this person isn't a bad person, this person is actually very calm and clear-headed, and she knows what she's talking about, and she's not defensive, and this is going completely against everything that I've been taught. And then they would have done more research, and they would have changed their perception of it. So, yeah, I deeply regret reacting that way. Though I reacted that way with good reason, I deeply regret it. But, Kyohei, your video also reminded me of Z Budapest and feminist. I know, that sounds really strange, but bear with. I remember reading, I don't agree with Z Budapest, by the way. And I remember reading, I think on her blog, something about how men were pigs and scum and blah blah blah. What we've come to expect from the feminist movement. Sorry, but I'm putting that as bluntly as I can. And I admit, at one time I was part of the feminist movement. Because I understood their anger. I understood their anger towards men because men had mistreated me, called me weak, said that I would never be really worth as much as a man because I'm a woman. And that was coming from being taught that all life is sacred, that all people are equals. That was like a slap in the face. And I'm still very, very angry about it. And it really changed how I acted. For instance, I can't cry in front of people. I can't. I became a very angry, violent person. I would start fights with any man who dared challenge me. And I would fight very brutally. And I would make sure that I won. And that's horrible. That's horrible. It's horrible for me to feel like I have to do that. To feel worth. To feel like I'm worth something. But it's also horrible for those men. Because I mistreated them to make myself feel better. I was a bully to them to make myself feel better. That's horrible. That's so horrible. And Yet another thing that I will regret for the rest of my life. So, I don't really know when this changed for me, but at some point in my life, I sort of woke up, and I saw a feminist being so hypocritical. And I was just so appalled at what I had done when I truly did believe in equality, truly did believe that the sexes are equal. And yet here I was trying to prove myself to make myself feel better by mistreating men. I was just disgusted with myself. So I woke up. And I looked at the feminist movement and saw the hypocrisy, saw all of the inequalities that they were enacting. For instance, it's okay for a woman to hit a man, but it's not okay for a man to hit a woman. That's not fair. I say if a woman hits a man, he should hit her back. Why? Because he's a person. Because he can be hurt and damaged just as easily as a woman can. Because all life is fragile. If women really want to be treated as equals, then why would we want to be treated as being weak? So, when a man doesn't hit a woman back, that, to me, it tells me that you think that a man thinks that I can't take a hit. I'm too weak, too powerless, too fragile to be hit. And yes, I know hitting is not good, no matter who you are, no matter the gender, but I'm saying from society's perspective, it's okay. It's more okay for a woman to hit a man than it is for a man to hit a woman. And I don't think that's not equality. That's either treating women as being weak and fragile creatures, or treating them as being superior in some way. And both are wrong. Both are very wrong, and I would appreciate it if I hit a man, if he would hit me back. I know I can take it. I also saw a lot of the feminist movement going to Africa and trying to stop, going to third world countries and trying to stop female circumcision. And yeah, that's horrible. Female circumcision is horrible. All circumcision is horrible. But every single day, every single moment, there is a little boy, there is a tiny infant getting circumcised when he doesn't even know what circumcision is. He doesn't even know what his foreskin is. And yet it's being amputated. This part of his body, this organ, is being amputated. And there are so few people in America, there are so few women in America who are willing to stand up and say, hey, this is wrong. This is a violation of human rights. And people should have a choice over what happens to their body. The problem is, a lot of women in the feminist movement will go to these third world countries and say, this is horrible, what's going on? Don't do this to women. But they never stop to think, oh my god, this is happening in my country to boys. And so, when women say men are insensitive, we have to look at how society has taught them to be. Look at what society values in men. Strength, bravery, insensitivity, or non-emotional, highly sexual, oversexed, aggressive. And so, when a woman calls a man insensitive, well, yeah, of course, he hasn't ever been taught anything else. Because if you're an emotional person, if you're an emotional man, you're gay. Or you're a pussy, or whatever. If you become frightened, then you are weak. If you are physically weak, then you're not a man. If you aren't aggressive, if you're peaceful and kind and gentle, then you're weak. If you aren't very sexual, or if you are more conservative with your sexuality, then you must be gay, or you must be less of a man. And that's horrible. That's a horrible thing to think. And it's horrible for men to have to think this about themselves, or to have to act a certain way to feel like they are worth something. That's horrible. And it's horrible for women to treat men like this. Because by saying that they're insensitive, we're objectifying them. We're calling them robots, essentially. That they're emotionless. And they're not. Men aren't emotionless. They're people, just like every other person on this planet. The problem with being on one side versus another is that neither side can see the suffering of the other, because if you're on a side, you're so blinded by your own pain that you can't see the suffering of the other side. It's just like in war, or at least the way children view war. War is not a victimless crime. But children, you'll see when they play war, will take a side and stick to it and say this side is right because of all these things. But they don't see the points of the other side. They're so blinded by their own desire to be right and to be validated. I understand that it's human nature to fear and distrust and see people for their differences and judge people for their differences. But I believe that we must overcome our primal selves to grow as people. We live in a very globalized society. And so we have to not only be aware of how we are representing whatever group we represent, but we have to be aware of how everyone else feels. And I know that's incredibly hard. It is. It's incredibly, incredibly difficult, but we have to do it. So my point is, how you represent yourself matters. Because if I go out and I'm in the public eye and I'm causing chaos and destruction and mayhem, and people find out that I'm a witch, or that I'm pagan, or the nationalities that I am, if people find out any of those things, it immediately clicks in their mind, oh, it's because of this. Oh, it's because she's a witch. Oh, it's because she's a pagan. Oh, it's because she is Irish, and Irish people are angry, and so in everything that you do, in the public eye, on the internet, in school, in business, in life, You have to be aware of how people are going to look at you and judge you and how you represent whoever you're representing. Because how you say things and how you react can change at least one person's perspective on that group. You can teach them something. You can make the world a better place, a more accepting place, just by allowing yourself to be calm and open and collected, and to really think about what you're saying before you say it. With all of that said, I don't really have anything else to say. If anyone has comments or questions, let me know, contact me. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. So, thank you for watching. Yeah, I'll see you later.